Hello everyone, and happy Imbolc to you. Imbolc blessings to everybody. Today is February 1st, which is, for if you follow the Wheel of the Year, today is Imbolc, which I will talk about in a minute. But I wanted to kind of recap. Then I really probably should have cleared things up a little bit more, but that's okay. I wanted to kind of recap because I did not do a year ahead with a monthly wheel. I did a Wheel of the Year following the Sabbats, and I want to just kind of recap Yule because I've gone through the first season of Yule. And so that started at December 21st and has gone until 21st, 22nd, and has gone until today. And so I have this on the top of my shelf, my kind of shelf of sacred space. I found this little kind of tripod-y, or no, not tripod, but like I don't know what there's a word for these kinds of, almost like an easel. That's what I was thinking. In fact, it still has a tag on it, which I should probably take off. But I obviously was really excited to get that put up. I found this at Hobby Lobby, of course, always on sale. So I think I paid like $5 for it. And so this sits up on my shelf, and I have my card of the year, which is the Ace of Swords, and then I have the card of the season, which has been the Son of Pentacles for me, or the Knight of Pentacles, and then I have this, which shows my Cauda Draconis, which because I also did a Geomancy figure. And then of course I just had a little sign. Sorry, somebody's walking in. So I had a little sign up here, which I'll clean off a little bit better, that said Yule. I will change that to Imbolc and probably put a little candle on the corner. So these are up, and I'm kind of keeping track of them. I don't know what's going on. She's all worked up. Who knows? Somebody moves outside and she gets all geared up. Anyways, and then I'm also, for each of the Sabbats, I am picking up a fire and ice crystal so that at the end of the year I will have a little Wheel of the Year henge. So this is my year one that represents the year. This will kind of stand in the middle, and then I'm getting a smaller one of various sizes, but smaller one for each. So this is my one for Yule, and so I'm just getting one throughout, and it's of course taking on the energy of each of those Sabbat energies. And so of course by the end I'll have this lovely little grid of fire and ice crystals, which was entirely Patrick's fault with his Stonehenge. I have one. should have been here Monday, but you know how the post works. It is now in a black hole over Boston somewhere. So I have my Imbolc one coming. So this has sat with me through the last, what, 2 months? No, month, a little over a month. And then I will obviously add in the next one, which will be for Imbolc, which will stay with me until March 20th, February. So March, so almost 2 months. I'll be having the other one and then have 3, and then by the time I'm done. So these are kind of the things that I have sitting out. I have actually, last year I did the Wheel of the Year. I simply never really returned to, every once in a while I kind of looked at what was my card for that month, but I really didn't work with the energy. And I'll put a link to my Wheel of the Year video that I did. But I didn't find myself ever really returning to it. Whereas I have to say, having them set up on my little shelf, this actually was a really good experience, because for me, the 2 words that came when I thought of this particular at the time that I drew this was active grounding. I really needed some grounding at the time, in December, definitely at December 21st. I really needed that energy of grounding. And so with this sitting up on my shelf, I have continually kind of seen it, you know, visually in my eyes, see it and think, okay, take a breath and reground. Like it was a continual reminder to tap into that, you know, while all of these fresh ideas and mental work was going on, and, you know, getting ready for class, kind of working through January stuff with my business. Where do I want to take things? So doing all that mental stuff that the Ace of Swords kind of represents, there was a constant reminder to stay grounded, but actively seeking grounding, not just be grounded, or not just that's what I was, but I needed to actively ground myself. And so, I mean, this means a lot of other things besides that, but that was like sort of the key phrase that kept repeating itself, and it actually had an impact on the last month or so that I've had this up there. It has been a part of my last month. It has been a continual energy, actually using that. And so that's a very different experience for me than the Wheel of the Year ahead that I did last year that I just never returned to. So whether you're doing a Wheel of the Year or a year ahead, I would definitely recommend you find a way to set those cards out, because that really made a difference for me. And so and if I was doing anything specifically like on full moons and things, I would pull out these particular stones. Obviously that will add on to another one for this coming chunk. And so it just it's definitely pulled it from being sort of an academic, okay, let's do a year ahead or a Wheel of the Year spread, into something that I actively used throughout that time period. So I really enjoyed that. So this, one thing I did is in my sort of ritual bag, which has all my sort of Wheel of the Year stones and things of that nature, I put and this is my sort of my trimmed Wild Unknown deck, I put a little wooden thing that has my Cauda Draconis, which is my Geomancy figure of the year, and then on the back I placed the, you know, what my cards were, so I didn't have to keep looking it up. But so my next one coming up is going to be the 7 of Air. So I'm using my first edition Wild Unknown because I don't read with this. I do for myself, but I have the 2nd edition, and then I have the trimmed edition, 3rd edition, and so this is a good one to be able to just leave up and not have to worry, or it's not having a card missing from an active deck. So I should have done this obviously beforehand, but that would be too easy, and for some reason these are Wrapup. Which I'm going to have to put into order because I don't like that. 7 of Wands, 7 the Chariot, which is my birth card, the Hanged Man, okay. 7 of Pentacles, everything, every 7 but the 7 of Swords, which means more than likely I have already passed it, and I'm going to have to, there we go, the 7 of Swords. I quite like the little fox in this, although he does look a little sneaky. But the 7 of Swords to me is very much about underlying energy, looking a little deeper, that things aren't always what it seems, and that you may need to look a little bit deeper because there may be information below level so don't just stay on the surface, but dig a little deeper. And I know that's not necessarily a traditionally you obviously have somebody stealing 7 swords. I spent actually a lot of time with the 7 of Swords, not this past year, but the year before, because it was one of those that it never really quite resonated with me. Or I wasn't quite sure always what to do with it. I understood what it meant and everything, but it didn't resonate. And when I spent some time with it, it was that idea, okay, we have somebody stealing swords, but we don't know why. Are they doing it for a good cause? Are they stealing back swords? Like, what's going on here? What is the why? And that started to kind of really develop into this understanding that that we don't, just because we have surface information doesn't mean that we have the whole story, and that we need to dig a little deeper. And so that's going to probably be my phrase for this coming time, is just dig a little deeper. When I'm trying to work something out, just don't take the surface level, but go a little deeper. So that's going to be my card for this coming season until we reach Ostara in March, the end of March. So I'm going to go ahead and put, oops, these are pastel, so they're kind of like chalk, they're pastel pencils. And I'm going to go ahead and put Imbolc as a reminder of the season that I'm in. Right? Maybe we'll just do a little swirly there. And maybe I'll just do a little blue holder. I don't know why blue, but I should do green actually, because I think, or purple. But that's okay, I'm not going to be too picky. And then I'm going to do a little candle. Obviously this is just a little, I had a little holly thing on there. And then there's a little light on there because candles are associated. February 2nd is Candlemas, which we'll talk about Imbolc in a minute. So that, I think that's where you get that idea of lots of candles and things for Imbolc. So this is now going to go back up once I have my third one, once it comes from the black hole of the mail that it is now seems to be stuck in. That will go up there, and I'll work with that energy again on any major things that I'm doing. Those will come out. I will be moving into this dig a little deeper, get the, don't just rely on surface level. So that's kind of a little update on how I went about keeping the energy intact throughout the time versus just being a single reading or that I did. And I've really found it to be impactful, and I'm looking forward to working with the next card's energy. So I'm going to clear this or put this stuff away here, and then move into a little bit regarding Imbolc as we move forward and do a little bit of a spread, an Imbolc spread. Okay, so just looking at Imbolc itself, which is of course, as I said, February 1st, which is today. Christian religions kind of have on February 2nd have Candlemas. Growing up fundamental Christian, of course, we did a lot of Christian history, and it did seem to be the occasion in which a lot of times the Catholic Church would come into a culture, and instead of saying, you can't celebrate XYZ, but here's another way they kind of incorporated under the umbrella of Christianity, so people didn't have to give up their holidays. So whether that happened with Candlemas or not, I don't know. I'm just supposing it did happen in other times, but those are actually two separate things. So today is Imbolc, and sometimes they're used interchangeably, but from what I understand, they are two separate things, and Candlemas is tomorrow. So of course we're following along. We've done Yule, and now we're moving on to Imbolc. Last year I did work with the Wheel of the Year. I just didn't do it with the Wheel of the Year cards and that nature. So this was the only one that I actually got of the Llewellyn Sabbath Essentials was Imbolc last year. I did get Yule last month, and I will, by the end of the year, have them all. But I do find these quite helpful. I really like the quick walkthrough understanding of how the Wheel of the Year, how we walk through the Wheel of the Year, and then it gives a nice historical, that idea, understanding different Imbolc, Oimlec, O-I-M-E-L-C, who knows how to pronounce that, the Feast of St. Bridget. We'll get into some correspondences in a minute, but it does give you some of that history, talking about Imbolc being a time, because this is a very much, following the Wheel of the Year is very agricultural. It's also very much to do with the planting and and harvesting. And so this is the idea for new plans to be made, new ideas to be planted, because this is typically the first planting in some areas. Now, in northern United States, it is full on winter, right? And so, but it's actually been, the last couple of days have been snowy, but not freezing cold, and beautiful to walk out in. Like today, it's sunshiny, the grass is peeking through the snow. So I do actually have that sort of, even though we are going to have snow through even into the beginning of March, there is that sense that the days are getting brighter and longer, and we're moving towards spring, right? So there's that idea of it. And so there's that thinking for me, you know, January seems to be a lot of wrapping up of, you know, if people are doing their taxes, or they're doing this or they're doing that, and they're kind of wrapping up the loose ends from the last year, kind of thinking about what it is that they want to do, even making plans. But Imbolc is a time to actually start planting those seeds, planting the intentions for energetic coming back. It's kind of like the new moon, right, is for the month, that's setting intentions and starting new things. Well, this is for the entire year. We've got to start to plant these things so that when the harvest festivals come, we're starting to reap the benefit of what we've planted. So I quite like that symbology there. Talks a lot about what that might have been like to be going through these seasons in older society, when these types of holidays were being celebrated on a routine level, right? And it also talks about in different cultures. So it talks about the Celtics, the time of cleansing and renewal and rebirth. Talks a lot about Bridget, which is an aspect that I definitely, here is a card from the Keepers of the Light Oracle. This is Bridget for inner strength. And there are many, and I'll show you those in a minute. There are many different gods and goddesses that are associated with Imbolc, but for me, it's definitely very much to do with Bridget, as well as because of Bridget as well as other things, it's also very much associated with the Maiden, Mother, and Crone energy. I think that technically we're going from the Crone to the Maiden, that movement from Crone into the Maiden, and then of course to the Mother. So it's kind of a resetting of that cycle, a renewal. But she is the goddess of fire and flame, which is why we do have a lot of candles associated with Imbolc. Transformation, wisdom. She is credited with giving the written word to humans. I like this. This particular oracle deck says, move back to wholeness, recognize that you have the power. That idea of inner strength is beautiful. So Bridget is associated, she's considered to be the great teacher. It also goes in and talks about Saint Bridget, you know, that sort of, again, you see that shift where, you know, going from the goddess to the bridge, you know, goddess Bridget to Saint Bridget. As she's incorporated into the church, which I do actually think is quite beautiful. But it's one of those things, like they even said, if Christianity was to take hold, then they had to include Bridget somehow. Like people weren't going to give her up. So they put her forth as the midwife to Jesus. Although, from what everything my biblical history is, he was born in a manger. I didn't realize there was an Irish midwife that came over there to give birth, help her give birth. But that's that was the way the church was able to let her stay with that idea of childbirth and birthing and these kinds of things. And then it was said that she was born on February 1st. This is the kind of the Christian kind of the Christian incorporation of Bridget. So there's a lot of information. I really do quite like these. Talk about corn dollies. It even shows you how to make corn dollies. And talks about the Romans. Again, that would have been with Juno, who shared a lot of qualities with Bridget. Talks about Native American, Egyptian, Asian, with the Chinese New Year around this time period. So it really does like give you kind of a broad aspect of the time of the Sabbath and what is going around, not just in terms of the wheel of the year, but what's going on around in a world level, which is really neat. And then it talks about ways that you might celebrate this in modern times, such as the idea of candles. It's considered the light at the end of the winter tunnel. So lots of candles being, I'm going to have, you know, definitely lots of candles out all day today. Celebrating Bridget in the modern times, Groundhog Day, how those things, Valentine's Day, all these things, how these could be tied in with these older celebrations. It's pretty cool. And then I love the section like, what could you do today? Well, you can do cleaning. So literally cleaning up the house, spring cleaning, even though it's not spring. Like, I don't think of February as spring. It is way too cold for that. But energetically, it's a time to so clean so that those seeds that we plant have a space to grow, like pulling out the weeds. I will definitely be smudging, you know, all of my windows and doorways and through my apartment, and like energetically cleansing, that kind of thing. So planting your seeds, you could literally plant a seed sort of symbolically, but you can also plant, you know, seeds in your business, seeds in your personal, what is it that you want to grow, setting those kinds of intentions. So it talks a lot about that, something positive but out of character, again, talking about candles. And then there's a whole section on spells and divination that I don't do a whole lot with, although sometimes there's recipes that's fun, how to do, make a corn dolly. So it's quite interesting. But what I really love about this particular book is there's a section in the back that has all the correspondences. So keywords that you would use, such as beginnings, preparation, patience, awakening, newness, renewal, innocence, right? Emerging from sleep. These, I hear my phone vibrating, but it was on glass, so it was being louder than normal. Magical focus is like cleansing, setting up your fresh protections, divination. It's a good time for divination, this kind of thing. Astrological. People are sending me, Bart's sending me a bazillion pictures. He just got a little 1970 mini version of the Rider-Waite-Smith, and I think he's sending me a bunch of pictures. I need to take that off there so it's not so loud. Archetypes, so the idea of the feminine, the goddess moving from crone to maiden, right? The goddess in the form of the mother energy very much. The god in the form of the child, because for the pagan, if you're following the Wheel of the Year, it is that sort of dance and that cycle that's happening between the god and the goddess that you really see in the major arcana of the Druidcraft Tarot. It lists a lot of deities that are associated with this time of the year. Bridget, Aphrodite, Diana, Aaronrod, Artio, Athena, Danu, Gaia, like all these goddesses, all these gods. Of course, February for February was Roman. Cupid, you know, we have Valentine's Day coming up. We have colors, light green, pink, white, and yellow. Herbs. For me, it's very cinnamon, and they don't have peppermint in here, but they do have peppermint, I think, for scents. Yeah, scents, they do peppermint. So I have peppermint going in my diffuser. I will add, Miss Boho sent me a little box of miscellaneous things, and in it were these two little canning jar salt and pepper shakers, which I love. I'm so obsessed with these, but instead of like putting salt and pepper in them, I do have salt, Himalayan salt, because I use that. So I'll, you know, put that in candles for protection and reducing negative energy and things. And then I use cinnamon a lot when I'm adding herbs to candles, because it's just an all-around good herb with a lot of properties, and so I use it a lot in attention setting. And so, you know, see that? Did you see that? I wonder if you could see it. It definitely makes a puff. I meant to do it over here. This isn't usually a candle that I'm setting intentions with. But I will be, you know, when I'm doing any readings and things later, I will be burning some cinnamon and adding cinnamon to the candle wax, and doing a cinnamon essential oil in my diffuser, because, you know, that's associated with the energy of today. How cute are these? Can we just say how cute these are? metals, you know, it talks about brass and gold and antimony, which I don't even know what that is, along with my cinnamon in that. I also pulled some cards. We're going to do that in a minute, but it has animal totems associated with today. I associate the swan for sure, as well as dragon, and then scents and oils, peppermint and cinnamon for me, but cedar, striax, basil. Crystals are amethyst. So I have a little crystal grid that I always keep on my table, which had other things on it, but I kind of refreshed this, cleaned it all off, dusted it, got everything set. I usually keep the Herkimers for cleansing. They have carbon in them, as well as amplifying kind of that quartzy energy as well. But then I instead have an amethyst point, and I have amethyst little pieces in the 3 spots. So I've refreshed my crystal grid with amethyst. Turquoise is the other one, but they have amethyst for dreams, healing, courage, happiness, balance, beginnings, change, rebirth. All these kinds of things that you think about with Imbolc are associated with amethyst, and so it makes it a really good stone. I always have amethyst. I have an amethyst sphere here. I have amethyst cluster over here. So I always have amethyst on my table, but I've added it to my grid. So lots of association. Tarot cards, they associate with death, the Empress, and the Star. Different symbols and tools, foods, dried fruits, grains, potatoes, cornmeal, salted meats, cheese, nuts, eggs, ale, mead, and cider, like these kinds of things. So lots of associations, and I really like this little book, just to give us this little glimpse into what's going on. So here we have our amethyst, and we have some brass here. We have representation of Bridget here. But for a reading, I thought would be nice. This also, again, associates the crone, which is going to be shifting into the maiden and then moving to the mother. So these are from the Dreams of Gaia. So I just pulled out the maiden, mother, and crone, as well as the dragon for that piece of wisdom here. That the dragon totem really resonated strongly with me for Imbolc, and so I thought, okay, let's pull this out. Let me see if I can center this a little bit more. And I'm going to kind of use these for a spread, to actually do a spread. So let me grab my tarot deck that I'm going to use to actually do the reading, because these I'm going to use as the spread. I decided actually to use Taramuha, which is, I was just thinking, you know, feminine energy, you know, which is has a very feminine vibe to it. I was thinking fire energy, just in terms of warmth of the candle glow, and this is a very warm toned deck. I don't know, I just didn't give much thought into it. Just thought I would grab whatever deck felt like I should grab it. So I'm going to be using the Taramuha on top of here. And I'm just going to use that sort of movement of sort of the crone wintry energy into the maiden energy, which is going to come full bloom right to the mother energy. And then sort of a piece of wisdom here. What's all wisdom? But a little bit of piece of wisdom from the dragons here as well. And then I probably will just use that that idea, understanding of inner strength, and then move into wholeness. And stepping into your own power. I'll probably just use that for the oracle, since I already pulled that out. Trying to shuffle on a very small, the little end of the table, and it's not working well for me. And of course, because, you know, I just said seven of swords being my Imbolc card, which I should actually have represented here as well. The idea of digging deep and look underneath the layers, right? Oh, okay. I am just dropping things everywhere. All right. Get situated. So I have peppermint, On the diffuser, I have cinnamon in the candle. I have brass. I have amethyst going here. We've got Bridget in place. I've got my Imbolc card. And so we're just going to pull some cards here. I think I'm going to pull the dragon one from the bottom of the deck. Actually, that one right there felt very strong, so I'm going to use that for the first, the second, and the third. Oh, wow. That's quite beautiful. And then I'm going to pull the bottom card, which is the Five of Swords. So here is a message there. Okay, so I'm going to pull this to the side here. I've got too much stuff. I'm going to start dropping things. So here we have the Fool card, right? So, you know, we're kind of ending winter, and winter, but what is it? What is the wisdom that I needed to have gained out of Yule? And that idea of in the past and throughout this winter is that idea of being open-chested, being willing to not close down around cycles for me that has to do with grieving in December, cycles to do with those types of things where I tend to shut down more. That idea of trying to stay open through those, trying to stay open to those energies, which is interesting because of it's another video that I'll be working on. But so there, that message, that overarching message, wisdom that I've gained from this past experience working with Yule energy and working through December and that kind of things, is that idea of there is wisdom in being the Fool, right? And being open and still being willing to express and understand and move forward through life with an open and ready for adventures and ready for spirit, not ready for spirit, ready for adventure. We're being open to those experiences. That's what I meant, experiences. So I think that's really beautiful. And then what do we have here for this energy? So if we're moving from the crone into the maiden, it's the energy of the star, which kind of goes hand in hand, right? You have to be open. You have to be vulnerable to new experiences in order to open yourself up to the idea of hope and faith. And as Annika, my friend, when she did a video about, I think she did it connecting these two cards, the Star card and the Fool card, but this is the idea of having faith in oneself, right? That you're going to find your way. So that's really powerful there. And then that's going to move into that Hermit energy, which is one of my significators. The Queen of Swords and the Hermit would be my significator cards for myself. And so there is that energy of needing to be open and retouch into that idea of hope and faith and being faithing in myself, which is going to let me kind of dig full circle into that mother energy, right, of going deep and figuring things out so that then you can shine the light outward for other people. So, I mean, obviously this is something I will set with for a little while, but I'm just kind of giving you the kind of what's jumping out at me. And then for the dragon, or that bit of underlying wisdom, I always, for me, the Five of Swords is that I always ask the question, what cost? So whatever it is that you're doing, right, we always have to make sacrifices and put, like we're talking about planting, what are we going to put into the things that we want to get out, and make sure that what we're planting is going to give us the kind of return that we want. And always checking with ourselves, like, what is the cost, right? Is the cost of what you're trying to accomplish worth it? And making sure the Five is a disruptive energy, but disruption isn't always a bad thing. And that's also a message, even though I know this is Rider-Waite-Smith, I also just look at the Five of Swords as sort of a shake-up mentally. Like, if you want to plant new seeds, if you want new things to come to you, you got to shake things up, right? Try new things. Have a shake-up in the mental realm so that you can kind of keep moving forward. So it's kind of that dual. I technically see the Five of Swords as sort of that disruption, and not necessarily for bad cases. Like, we kind of, in winter, right, we're very much in that hibernation mode. And so a number 5 to shake things up is sort of a wake-up call as well. So I quite like that. Again, I don't just go straight with Rider-Waite-Smith meanings, but even with the Rider-Waite-Smith meaning, the idea of always evaluate the cost of what is your planting. Are you going to get, are you going to get back what you really want? So mindful planting so that you have mindful results, and just always evaluating that what you're doing, the cost for what you're doing is worthwhile, and is it having ramifications that you haven't, dig deeper. Make sure that the ramifications are in your best interest, so to speak. So there we have it, just a quick little, I'm sure it's not quick, I haven't watched the clock, but just a little bit of a recap on Yule for me, and then a kind of look at how I associate Imbolc and what I'm kind of doing with that, and a little bit of a reading. So I hope that you've enjoyed this. I wish you all a happy Imbolc and energy to come in the next couple months.